Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Sarah from Who I Am Among the Pages, and if you're new here, please comment, subscribe, like, do all the things, do all the things if you've been here. I really appreciate it. So a little update. The last time I talked to you, I was in my apartment down at college, and I was waiting the results for a COVID-19 test. And fortunately, I was negative, so I was able to come back home without putting anybody at risk. But yeah, that was pretty scary, so be careful out there. And most of you follow me from my Wattpad account. And if you haven't followed that, it's at Eliza_Victoria_13. And you know, that's on Wattpad. I have a bunch of older things on there. I have Number 9, which is a NASCAR story. If you didn't know, I'm really into racing. I have a book of poetry that I recently started because really it was only this past semester that I even ventured into poetry, and I found I really like it. So there's some of that, and it's not very good, but it's my first experience with it, and I figure if somebody else can look at it and have a laugh out of it, or if somebody else can look at it and be like, well, at least I'm not that bad, then it's a benefit. I've got a few other things, and I started today a Harry Potter fanfiction because I was inspired by my lovely boyfriend to start rereading the series because I've always been a fan. But honestly, I think the last time I read the series, I was a freshman in high school, and I'm now a junior in college. So there's quite a bit of difference in my literary background now and just of what I expect from books. So I'm looking forward to getting back to something I really, really love, and plus being able to look at it with fresh eyes. Although I really don't think my opinions will have changed much. I just loved it so much. So on top of that, I'm still writing my first traditionally published novel. Well, hopefully traditionally published novel. And at the rate I'm going, as long as I still get to keep up with the pace I'm working at, which hopefully I will be able to. Hopefully there's no other big upheavals, but it's 2020, we can only hope at this point. Hopefully I'll have that done by the end of August, so about the time that I'm picking back up with classes, and realistically I just don't have the same amount of time that I have now, because now it's summer vacation, and even with other responsibilities, there's still more time than during the school year, and anybody that's in any type of education understands that. So by the end of summer, I'm hoping to start contacting, querying literary agents, so maybe by this winter, beginning of next year, I can hopefully have an agent and begin the process of publishing, or trying to publish anyway. You know, it's a rocky road, and I'll admit that I'm not as knowledgeable in it as I probably should be. But I'm learning, I'm getting there, and the big thing is to get the book written. I will be looking for beta readers sometime by the end of summer. So if you're interested in that, please leave a comment below, and hopefully I can get a hold of you when the time comes. And yeah, I could really use all the feedback, all the criticism, anything I can get, because I really am happy with this story and would love to see it in print. So that's it for announcements. And on to what we're really talking about today. It is finally June, it's finally summer. So today we're doing my June TBR. And I was really successful and really proud of what I got read in May. There was only one book that I didn't get to at all, and it's because I was not at home. I was in a town 3.5 hours away, without my Kindle. So I only brought one book with me because, as far as I knew, I was just staying the weekend, staying Memorial Day weekend down there, to start moving stuff into my apartment because my lease just started the 1st, but the former tenants moved out a little bit earlier, so I was able to get a head start getting stuff in. And you know, I was going to see my boyfriend because he's still down there, and then I started feeling bad, and a week of my life was down the toilet. Not bitter at all. But so my May wrap-up will be coming soon, but for now, this is what I'm going to be reading in the month of June. So first off, the book I'm currently working on is one that was on my May TBR, and I did start it on the 31st, so technically I guess it still should be in my May wrap-up. but I'm working on it right now, and I'm so excited. It's Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and if you don't know, it's about, the main character is a girl named Kath. She's 18. Her and her twin sister have just started at a college, and it details what I know right now, because I'm in the process of reading it. They've just moved to campus, and it details the process of going somewhere that you've never been, and just these very real experiences that anybody who has been to college or is going to be leaving for college soon understands and will understand. And I wish I'd read this before I left for Virginia Tech, because it would have been really comforting to me to know somebody, or even if it's just a fictional character, to know somebody that felt the same way I did, because getting moved in and getting established at college is very, very difficult. And Kath definitely has a lot of anxiety over this, and at the same time, she is a huge fan of Simon Snow, which essentially, from what I've learned so far by reading this, is a lot like Harry Potter. So that's also very relatable to a lot of us, I feel like. And she's a fan fiction author, a very successful fan fiction author, and she even majored in English. So this is very, very near and dear to me. And for anybody else that, has gone to college or has majored in English, if you're a huge Harry Potter fan, this is definitely a great book to read. Even if you just write fan fiction or if you read fan fiction, it's so relatable and so sweet, and I cannot read this fast enough. And this is the kind of book that I can just lose myself in for hours and then look up and realize, like, oh, I should have done A, B, C, D, and I didn't even know that time was going by. So it's, especially right now with everything going on in the world, it's a really good book to read, and I really suggest everybody pick it up. Yeah, like, I don't know what else to say. This is the first Rainbow Rowell I've ever read, and after this, definitely next month, by the time I finish this, I have, I don't know if you can see it over here. Yeah, I have Carry On and Wayward Son, also by Rainbow Rowell, so I'm going to go ahead and read those. And I've also got Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, so I'm hoping to get to that soon, because I'm a huge fan of her writing. And again, I wish I got to it sooner, but thankfully I'm reading it now. I love it, and this will be a very quick read. So next on my TBR is one that I don't feel like many people are familiar enough with, but I read the first two books in the trilogy probably 4 years ago, and I remember a lot more of the first two books than I usually do of series. I'm really bad at, as time goes by, I remember like the major plot points, and that's about it. But this is Chain Reaction by Simone Elkeles, I believe her last name is. If anybody knows, please let me know. I was fortunate enough to get to meet her when I was a sophomore in college. She visited one of the other high schools in the county, and luckily I was very close to the librarians, so they got a group of us together that hung out in the library and that were really into books. They rounded us up. We all asked the administration, we'll pay for the bus, can we go on a field trip to get to meet her? And they said yes, so we all shoved on to the most rickety, decrepit school bus that the county had to offer, and we went over to the other school. In their auditorium, she was so lovely. She gave tons of advice about writing, and a lot of it is still advice that I take. It was some of the first advice I'd ever had handed to me that I didn't Google, like how to write a novel. She's such a good person, and I'm fortunate enough to have another one of her books signed. I don't know if you guys can see that. Better Than Perfect, also by her, and that's a really sweet book about a girl that wants to play football and what she goes through to do it, and it's very romantic, very sweet and fluffy, and it's definitely a good beach read, a good summer read, and I recommend all of her books. But this is the third book in her Perfect Chemistry trilogy, and it follows, I believe, 3 different girls, all involved with these 3 brothers, and they are, from the rougher side of town and learning about who they really want to be and who their values really are, and how they don't have to be a product of an environment that they grew up in, because even though they're not happy there, they've always kind of just thought that they would go along with the flow. And this is, you know, coming of age. It's a coming of age story. It's just a feel-good book, because you have that element of people learning about who they really want to be, along with some higher stakes, but, you know, it's still romantic. There's still funny characters. So it kind of touches on a lot of important things that YA tends to cover, and she does it very successfully. And anybody that has not read these books really should pick them up. The author is amazing, I can tell you firsthand. The books are amazing, and definitely, she's written other books other than the Perfect Chemistry trilogy and Better Than Perfect. I don't remember what the other books are, because it's been a long time since I've felt like just picking up a straight romance. Look her up, read her stuff, you won't be sorry. So the next book on my TBR is one that I really had this book for quite a while, and I wish I'd read it sooner, because now I feel kind of stupid getting on the internet and being like, oh, I'm just about to read this for the first time because the other two books are out. But oh wow, I just ordered one of her other books, even though I owned this book. I had never read any of her other books. I got one out of the library in January and really, really liked her writing. But The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I know this is a story about fae and a human getting involved with them, and I'm really excited, because anything that has to do with the fae, I am here for. Like all of Sarah J Maas's books involve the fae, and that's how I really fell in love with that mythological character. And Holly Black has a really distinctive, if you've never read her books, she has a very distinctive kind of gothic fiction-esque, if you've read anything from that literary movement or romanticism, so it would have been Poe and those writers. She definitely kind of harkens back to that kind of writing, the same tone, the same atmosphere. I feel like, I might be wrong, I might be the only person that thinks that, but that's why I really liked her writing, because this past semester I was taking American literary history, and we were going over those literary movements about the same time that I was reading The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, and I really just, I loved her writing. So this might actually be the book I read next, because no, it's not the book I've had longest. I've had Chain Reaction far longer. I've had this book for about a year, and I'm getting to the point where I feel really guilty about keeping books forever and never reading them, along with never finishing series. So I'm trying to knock that habit, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I've heard very mixed things about it, based on where you fall in how much, I don't know the best way to put it, but how unrealistic and kind of unhealthy relationships in fiction can be before it's just gross. So I'm a little concerned about it, because I bought it before I had gone through some of those reviews. So we'll see. I am hoping that I really like it, because I did really like Holly Black when I read her before. And I have another one of her books that I have not read yet, but again, I'm hoping to really like, because I like her writing and I really like fae. So this is coming up soon. I'm excited but nervous. And yeah, I'll let you guys know how this goes. I think it is going to be kind of the same thing. I'm afraid it's going to be kind of the same thing as House of Earth and Blood, where I have issues with some of the things that happen between the male and female counterparts of the story, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping all goes well, because I'd really like to not hate a book that I paid for. I think everybody feels that way. So yeah, moving on from that, I have next in my TBR for this month, it's technically two books. It is Flowers in the Attic and Petals in the Wind by V.C. Andrews. It is the first two books in her, I think it's just called the Flowers in the Attic series. It is a huge book, but I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to bind-ups. I don't care if it's one book or 10 books. if it's in a single edition, I have to read it all at once. I don't really know anything about the series other than it was written in 1979 was their first copyright that I see. And it's been a YA series that has definitely endured. My mother recommended this. She'd read it in high school, all of her and her friends. This was the very popular pop culture book of the time. Like, you know, we have Percy Jackson and Harry Potter and, you know, the Raven Boys and the Mortal Instruments and those kinds of books now. But at that point, V.C. Andrews was where it was at. I know it's supposed to be kind of creepy, and I tend to like horror novels, even if I don't like horror movies so much. So I'm really looking forward to this because I'm hoping it has something to do with ghosts. I love ghost stories. Like The Shining, that was one of my favorite books of all time. And, oh crap, what was the one with the car? Carrie. No, it wasn't Carrie. There's another woman's name though. Christine. Christine by Stephen King. I love that book too. It's a really good creepy ghost story. Lots of hauntings, very dirty and dingy. I loved it. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up my pleasure reading June TBR. And as I mentioned before, I am starting to reread the Harry Potter series. So right now I'm working on the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. At least that's the American edition. I know it's different in the UK. But I'm considering this more part of my work because I am working on a Harry Potter fanfiction, which 13-year-old me would be so proud of. I just want to put that out there. I'm working on reading this. I'm about halfway through it because it's a much faster read than I remember it being. So hopefully I can really get through the series because I am hoping to very accurately write something that could fit into the canon or just be a different version of the stories. I'm never going to replace J.K. Rowling's writing or her character building or her world building, but I'm hoping to write something that Harry Potter fans will really, really love. And to do that, I feel like I need to reread the books where it all started. So you can't beat these books. I mean, let's be real. So there might be more books that I read this month in the Harry Potter universe. I'm not touching The Cursed Child. I'm not touching Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, because the original series is what I grew up on, and I do not accept these two new books. I have very strong feelings about them. But yeah, so the original Harry Potter series I'm rereading, and you know, I guess I could let you know my thoughts and feelings on them now, although so far from what I've read, it hasn't changed. But I am still very early in the series. So yeah, that's my June TBR. My May wrap up is coming up soon. I think starting this video, I'm going to link my Wattpad below and my Goodreads account below so you can keep up with what I'm reading. There's a lot of, it's mostly pleasure reading, but there are some books on there that I read for school. So if you're curious about if you're thinking about majoring in English and you're curious about what that entails, feel free to check out my Goodreads because that stuff's on there too. And if you have any questions about any of the books, let me know and I can give you my thoughts and feelings on them, because I don't tend to write reviews on Goodreads. I'm thinking about starting. But yeah, just any questions about anything, let me know. So that pretty much sums up this video. This is going up Wednesday, so Friday will be my May wrap up, and hopefully Monday then I'll be able to finally have my video on House of Earth and Blood. That's been a long time coming, and it's just because there's a lot to talk about and I want to do it in the right way, and I've written several scripts but nothing just sounds right, so I'm still working on it. But I'm finally going to bite the bullet. It's going to be out by Monday. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and yeah, I'll see you guys again soon. Thanks.